Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Simply Sketchy. It is me, your host, the channel man, Trim, and today I have brought with me an oldie but goldie. Hello, Bleach.
Are you saying that I'm either a gold digger or geriatric? That's the way I'm reading this.
Don't think too much into it.
What?
You age like fine wine.
Yeah. So some why not is going to get a hold of me, and yeah. Anyway, moving right along.
Yeah, I can hear they can be rather kinky sometimes, so that'd be fun. Yeah, that's life. So, I am drawing something a bit different right now. Would you care to tell what it is?
So today we're talking about the Siren of the French Broad, and while she is a broad and potentially French, no, the French Broad is thought to be the third oldest river in the world.
Really?
And definitely the oldest one in North America. So it runs from a place called Rosman in Transylvania County, North Carolina, up to the confluence with the Holston River in Knoxville, Tennessee. And it kind of runs through the Continental Divide, if I remember correctly. Which is a rarity. That's part of the reason why it and another river called the New River um, are considered kind of geographical oddities in North America, because they just kind of say screw you to the Continental Divide because they're just that old. They've cut through the Appalachian Mountains that
So
are some
the
of the
new
oldest
the
mountains in the world.
the new river is really old.
Correct. It the reason it's named that is the fact that it was mapped incorrectly when the original surveyors were going through, and oh hey, we've got a new river, and the name stuck.
I mean, sure. In
I mean,
we have literally in Norway a place that is called what Kukegrupa, which is just a dick ditch. I can't bitch at you about shitty name conventions for areas. I live in Norway, for God's sake. Of course, that is
uh,
nothing compared to what Sweden has to offer. Just a quick trip through that country, and you'll see what they have to offer. Yeah, that means today is the second time I'm going to be drawing a feminine character in this.
oh no, oh darn,
Oh
shucks.
no, what a terrible shame. Oh no, a siren. So,
Yes. So
while
yeah,
I do this,
so the legend goes that, and again, I'm giving kind of like the geographical context of the French Broad River, which was all apparently that was one of the rumored names, and there's a lot of them. When the land disputes between Great Britain and France and the demarcation lines for their colonial influence, that was this was one of the, well, maybe this is where the name came from. Not 100% sure. I think it's just one of those lost to the annals of time. But
maybe not kind of things.
yeah, and so you have um, the Siren of the French Broad. She's also referred to as Lorelei of the French Broad, which is a reference to the siren that is in Germanic folklore about the what is the siren of the Rhine River, and there's a specific rock, and she's named after that, um, or it's named after Lorelei. And in the context of the French Broad, is that it's typical of a lot of rivers, especially these old rivers in North America, where it could go from really wide and slow moving to really rapid, really rough and tumble. And I've included some pictures for Bezic to throw up there, about just kind of how dramatic this one river can change. And it could go, again, just like almost glassy still to a raging torrent. And so, of course, Lorelei is, supposed to be in various, deep pools, and will come out on a rock and tempt men to their fates because she's described as being incredibly beautiful, very seductive, usually naked. Sometimes also described as wearing the clothing of the day, so any man will be like, oh, well, gee, there's this beautiful woman beckoning me into the river. And jumping back to the nature of this river, when it gets into the more rough and tumble areas, because of the age of this river, there are places where you could just get sucked under the rapids. And it's just so intense. And a lot of people go whitewater rafting here. But it's just such I mean, in some ways, it's a very dangerous river. So, yeah, I've always liked the Siren of the French Broad as a concept, and again, the fact that there's so much borrowed from German folklore as far as referring to her as Lorelei.
Yeah, we have a similar kind of temptress in Norway, though not much in rivers, but she's in like these smaller lakes.
Yeah.
It is called a huldra. And she
Uldre?
is huldra. It is, it's a weird word for like anyone who is speaking Norwegian or Scandinavian. Essentially a temptress, but she has this one weird caveat of you can recognize her by that fact that she has a tail similar to a troll. That is essentially the giveaway to her more fae-like nature.
Okay.
Yeah. And her hobby is tempting people and then drowning the shit out of them.
I mean, fair enough.
I mean, we all need a hobby, and apparently the drowning kink is starting to get really popular in some places in the world, so, you know.
Bad Carradine. Bad.
Lord. So, yeah, it is, I just started thinking about that. It is kind of funny how there are different kinds of temptresses, and a lot of them involve drowning or getting devoured in a body of water. Like, you have, I
Yeah.
think, the Urogumo, you know, the Japanese spider demon?
No.
Basically, it's a woman's upper body on a top of the head of a spider, and she's
Okay.
incredibly beautiful, can take the shape of a human, and she tempts men and then guides them to a river where she eats them or marries them, and well, depending on whatever. Though it is more a creature of evil than it is a creature of good nobility.
Ah.
Yeah.
So just kind of like a jumping back for a second. I just remembered this and just double checked something. So she has another name, a Cherokee name, Tzelica or Tzelica,
Tzelica.
and it's roughly Tselica, and my Cherokee pronunciations are horrible, so whatever. But yeah, it's so, yeah, of course, Lorelei is the easiest one, but Tzelica is this old Cherokee name, so she predates white settlers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which just,
And
again, proves kind of my point further too. Like even they have this temptress who likes to drown people.
Mm-hmm.
What's a woman in drowning, dude?
I don't know. Yeah, I could say something here, but we got to keep it YouTube safe.
Yeah, they drown us in emotional abuse.
I was going to reference fish, but
Well, I mean, give it another few minutes and you can speak freely.
yes, yes. That's yeah. So because they describe, because there's a line out of a poem by Charles M. Skinner. This isn't the first and oldest poem, but this one's kind of the most well known, and I'll just read this little um, couple of lines by Charles M. Skinner.
Please do.
Copyright included. Well, granted, it's so old, but anyway. Siren of the French Broad. Amongst the rocks east of Asheville, North Carolina. Let me start again. Siren of the French Broad. Among the rocks of Asheville, North Carolina, lives the Lorelei of the French Broad River. This stream, the Tzelica of the Cherokee, contains the upper reaches of many pools where rapid water whirls and deepens, and where the traveler likes to pause in the heat of the afternoon and drink and bathe. Here, from time to time, when the Cherokee occupied this country, has lived the Siren. And if one who is weary and downcast sits beside the stream and utters a wish to rest in it, he becomes conscious of a soft and exquisite music blending with the plash of the wave. Looking down in surprise, he sees, at first faintly and then distinctness, the form of a beautiful woman, with hair streaming like moss and dark eyes looking into his, luring him with a power he cannot resist. His breath grows short, his gaze fixed mechanically. He rises up, steps to the brink, and lurches forward into the river. The arms that catch him are slimy and cold as serpents. The face that stares into his is a grinning skull. A loud, chattering laugh rings through the wilderness, and all is still again.
There we go. They always show their true form in the end.
They do. Kind of like an X.
They do. Which again just shows that the beauty is just skin deep, and beneath it's the true thing. Kind of like the Hulda. The tale is but a hint of their true nature.
And it's stuff like this, where it's kind of, in myth and lore, and also kind of in the modern consciousness.
Yep.
I think is really cool.
Yeah. Can't really go wrong with the myths like this. Really
no,
good,
you can't.
Interesting. And they're nice warnings too. To like, you can use them for many kind of things. Like, don't stick your dick in crazy. Always follow.
Yeah.
Always follow the plan. What's the word again for the graph? You know.
Well, yeah, FAFO, the FAFO graph.
Yep, the FAFO graph, the hot and crazy graph. You know.
Mm-hmm.
You need to make a risk assessment.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And it's interesting where it's very easy to look at some of these, poems and traditions and say, oh, okay, it's like everywhere, yada yada. It's like there's similarities, but the one thing I find very fascinating about kind of the way this lore works, it's not like, there's a siren at every turn or bend in the river. There's just one. There's always just one. And that to me is fascinating, because it speaks to the fact that it's not just a kind of universal reference for people dying or drowning or what have you. There's something more to it, something subtle about it, something.
Specific.
Yes. And that's what I think gives lore power. Because there's so many things where it's like, well, you could just kind of play it off as just stupid people doing interpretations or what have you. But when you start looking at it kind of in a critical manner, it starts really changing the way you should look at these things. Because we tell stories, we create lore as to add meaning and add depth to something that we don't fully understand. And things like, the Siren of the French Broad, the things like, when we were talking like about the pie saw bird, there is something more to it than just us not being able to add up. It's not 1 + 1 = 2 and you just forgot the plus sign in there. No, it's like there's something here. There's something beyond standard human comprehension that really draws you in.
Yep.
And it's something where, and it's also a little prescient, about there was kind of that rumor mill that there was a woman kind of like this being described when the floodwaters came through. And it's like, is that just a wild interpretation, or just the rumor mill for the sake of the rumor mill? You just don't know. But
What makes it interesting, though?
yeah, because you just don't know. That's the cool part about things like this. You just do not know if it's people desperately reaching back, or they did see something and that people just are so uncomfortable they want to dismiss it.
Again, the supernatural can either be something that is perfectly explainable or something that we desperately try to explain with literally anything because acknowledging it is just too damn scary.
Yeah, because if you acknowledge the unknown, then what doors does it open? All of them.
Exactly.
And in our modern era where everything has to be calculated and quantified.
Yeah, the age of bureaucrats.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Everything that
So
can't be explained must be annihilated in some ways.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's so there's some accounts that of the the Siren of the French Broad, Tzelica. I'm going to pronounce that like 37 different ways, and they're all going to be wrong. But there's actually an account that's floating around out there on the internet here lately, from 2011.
Wait, 2011?
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah,
I mean, that's a few years ago, but that is for a legend like this. That's not that long.
yeah. Um, and I'm actually seeing it referenced on multiple websites here.
Well, do
So
go on.
I think I will. Um, One of them's spookyappalachia.com and the other one's the Pine Barren Institute. Um, so now that we've referenced them, the witness was a young man in his 20s, name redacted. And the comment was, I was 15 at the time. I lied to my mom and snuck out with my girlfriend to go camping by the river. We got a remote location along the river near a bend about 3 a.m. Got up to urinate, went outside. See a man on the other side of the river, basically scantily clad, and he's standing in the river.
Dude.
Yeah, which I'm just like, man, that doesn't quite fit. Let's see. Thought he was looking at her tent, but he was looking down at the water. He started walking to the river, which is very wide and deep at this place. He's walking out, looking down at the water, and gets about waist high. And the witness waited. A few minutes passed, and he dives into the water. Doesn't resurface. Very terrified. Walked back to his camp, and about that, then he started having a apparently reoccurring nightmare of the silhouette of a woman embracing the man in the river. There we go. There's a potential sighting of this going back to 2011. I do find it interesting that there's that reference to a woman in his dreams. And I'm like, oh, okay. Could it be completely fabricated? Absolutely. Could it be real? Absolutely.
Could it be high on many little substances? Sure.
Yep.
But also, it could be real.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
Yeah.
here's the thing why I'm a bit more open to the supernatural as of late. There's been so much things that was supposed to be impossible happening as of late, both because, humans know better or stuff like that, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it this way. I hold more credence in a story like that than some of the, I'm going to put this very delicately for you two, the creative ways that people have decided to interpret themselves.
Yeah. Honestly, you got away with words, because I would not have said that at all.
See, this is why you have me on. I talk about lore, and I can frame it in very interesting ways.
Yes, unlike me, who, not just because of my Norwegian nature, am disgustingly blunt.
Mm-hmm. No, you're just disgusting.
Oh, that too. Have you seen my browser history?
No, thankfully.
Nope. Pray you never do. That's a
That's
joke,
the real
by
reason
the way.
why I went to mass today. I wouldn't have to see that. You asked for that one yourself.
Oh, sure. I wouldn't have started this joke if I weren't prepared that it would end, and I do know who the editor is.
Yes. So
That
I did find the poem of William Gilmore Simms from like 1854. So if you would like, we could go through that poem as well, because it's just skimming through, and it's actually pretty good.
Go ahead. As long as we're not with any kind of copyright, I'm down.
Yeah, well, we can always do dramatic pauses and analysis as we go.
That works.
So, the Siren of Tzelica, tradition of the French Broad. The tradition of the Cherokees assert the existence of a siren in the French Broad, who implores the hunter to the stream and strangles him in her embrace, or so infects him with some mortal disease that he invariably perishes. The story, stripped of all poetry, would seem to be that of youth, who, overcome with fatigue and heat, together sought the cool waters of the river, and was seized by it with a cramp or spasm, or too much exhausted for a reaction, sunk under shock. It does not much concern us, however, the degree of faith due to this tradition, enough that it exists and that it is this locality, the most magnificent of regions, for its scenery in the known world. Tzelica is the Indian name of the river. So there we go. So
I think
that's
the Indians, they have a lot of cool myths. Like,
they
I think
do.
half the
That's
videos we made are based on them.
that's one of the reasons why I like going through their lore and their myths, just because they need to be kept alive outside of kind of an academic setting. And
Mhm.
yeah, and it's funny because yeah, Sims here kind of describes some of the doubts about it as well. But at the same time, it's like, okay, cramp or spasm or exhaustion. But does that really answer all the questions one would have about such a mythical creature?
Nope. Again, it is more just the reasonable modern man once again
Mm-hmm.
trying desperately to sever himself from the more savage nature.
Yes. And here's the question I would pose to anybody that just wants to dismiss this as just interpreting someone who had a spasm or a cramp
Or a stroke,
and
maybe.
drowned. Yeah. And it's like, but why is it always like these really specific areas that this happens? That's they always refer to certain, and I've not seen them geographically mapped out or anything, but they always talk about very specific locations for these incidents, for these mythical creatures to exist in. It's not they're everywhere. It's they're at these very specific locations.
Yeah,
So
and
if
it
you're trying to
usually happens
interpret,
more than once too.
yeah, and if you're trying to interpret like someone drowning from a spasm or a cramp, um, why is it only the ones in these specific spots that are attributed to the siren? That's a question I think we kind of have to genuinely consider.
Yeah, and I mean, why would again, there's so much. Like, it could also be based on like a regular human, a woman who manages while the man is weak, she sees
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity and drags him under and strangles him.
Yeah,
A man that is exhausted is weak enough.
and one that is yeah easily taken advantage of or fooled.
Oh yeah, especially if he's young and the quote unquote
Impressionable.
criminal, yeah, and the
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote criminal is very attractive.
Yeah.
It's part of human nature to just give to be positively disposed to beautiful people.
Yes. It's the pretty privilege concept or what have you. So.
Yep, which is an honest fact of life.
Mm-hmm.
You meet someone pretty, or honestly, if you meet someone beautiful, you'll be hard pressed to hate them or dislike them. And the only way you can actually start to distrust them or dislike them is if you manage to misform your mental impression of them and basically give them an ugly tint in your head. Like women who
Yeah.
are an example for women who are relatively attractive but they have a personality that is absolutely trash, right?
Mm-hmm.
We start immediately seeing the more we start focusing more on the flaws of them. So women who would be just, pretty decent, like a 7 out of 10,
Mm-hmm.
and because we know who they really are, they quickly just become a 3, a
Or
begrudging
two.
4. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and I look at some of these, the way these myths are set up. So there's part of it. It's like, okay, don't go by the river when you're tired.
Hmm.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Don't go chasing a beautiful woman into the river. Makes sense.
Yes.
And then it's like, okay, there's kind of generic life lessons here.
It is.
But then you get, and this is what always gets me into the mythological stuff. Like, okay, yeah, you can make these kind of universal concepts, but then some of them become like so close in to specific areas. Like, again, why do you why are these areas just so magnetized for certain areas? It's just I find it fascinating. Always have, and it's never the same thing in the same type of area. But yeah, you could talk about the Siren of the French Broad versus Lorelei of the Rhine. Makes sense.
Yep.
But when you suddenly get like very, it's in on this river in this particular area, because it's not in the Tennessee side of this river. It's
Yeah.
specifically around Asheville, North Carolina.
Kind of like, well, formerly beautiful and then hideous, Skyla. Skilla? You know that woman turned to a massive several-headed sea monster by, I think, either Circe or some other
Oh
jealous
yes,
goddess?
yes.
Yeah, the one who faced Charybdis in a
Yep.
challenge. Was it Jason and the Argonauts, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
She was again formerly beauty, and then due to jealousy punished for and essentially nothing, just existing.
Mm-hmm.
And that in Greek 101 that I don't know what is. And it whenever there's a woman turned monster, it always has to involve beauty in one way or another, and water.
Yeah, that's very very good observation there, Trip. It's there's that element of water in all of it.
Yes. Hell, even the previously mentioned Eurogumo, it mostly a lot of the drowning events or like devouring events happen in a lake or somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It hides in the water. It captures the people it desires.
Yeah, yeah, because you have myths like the kelpies and the water horse and things like that. Um, and we've talked about those before. Well, they just attack anybody that passes by. They're not luring men,
No.
and it's always specifically men, because of course women want to destroy men. What?
Yeah, that's a can of worms.
Yes. That
Slighted women especially. And there are a lot of
yeah.
cases where the monster was literally, or like the creature was spite. Uh, she's scornful because she was slighted, or she views that she was slighted.
Yeah, hell hath no fury like woman scorned.
Yep, that shit doesn't ring true for every man alive right now. Then please develop some eyes, please. You'll need
Mhm.
it. Trust me. I'm not saying that Trim's art check is not saying all women are evil. I'm saying the ones who are really are.
Yeah. Ah, yes, Elizabeth Bathory, we're looking at you.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
always find it. I find it interesting in things like that. You can always find like common denominators across different mythos, different stories, different sagas.
mhm. And
So,
there's just so much of it that's very much levels of cultural interpretation.
hmm
And again, like the whole Siren of the French Broad versus Lorelei in Germany. Identical in so many ways,
Yep.
and yet separated by continents and cultures. And you say, okay, so the Europeans that settled the area, mostly English and Irish, and English and Scottish, are suddenly relying on Germanic myths. Now, there was a Germanic community. They're mostly out of the Rhine region of Germany. So maybe that's where some of this originated, and they would have been over there in the 1770s.
They heard the story of what was the name? What was the Indian name for her again?
Tzelica?
Yeah,
Tzelica? Something like that?
Yeah, maybe they heard it and essentially imprinted some of their own mythos to her.
Yeah.
Speaking of Lorelei, though, I don't know when she appeared in folklore. I don't know when the Hulder appeared in the folklore, but there might be some connection there too.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
Like linguistics in general.
And yeah, it's just fascinating. These what should be very close, but also very disparate bits of lore and legend, all kind of there's common threads, but and they all kind of start at similar times, but they're disconnected by maybe hundreds of years, maybe cultural things that stop it being just a one-to-one comparison.
Yeah. This weird connection that never really lets go.
Mm-hmm. Well, now I can put Lorelei on a mud flap and put her on the back of my truck. I suddenly recognize what she looks like here.
Yeah. We're not doing pinups here. Put it on the back of your car. Yeah.
That's right. Just don't do the Carolina squat. Bezic, that's your cue to show horrors beyond human comprehension.
I would appreciate it if we didn't, but if you feel so inclined, go ahead, Bezic. But I'm not taking any accountability of what you're doing on my thingy. So knowing him and the rush of freedom he possesses, it'll be like, ha ha ha, in your face.
Isn't he always? Isn't he always?
Every single time he has the opportunity, yeah. But yeah.
So, you know what? So just a geographical note.
Is?
So, have we talked about the moon-eyed people in depth before?
Moon-eyed people.
Another Cherokee bit of Cherokee lore.
We have not, though. Is it something you think we can make a video about later?
I mean, it's not going to be like the most in-depth kind of a topic, but this part of North America, this Cherokee country, as in the southern Appalachians, it has a lot of interesting folklore and whatnot, and there's just this like, okay, is there a connection between all of these supernatural things? Because on the other side of the mountain range from the Siren of the French Broad is the Wampus Cat. See episode insert number here. Yeah, they're on the opposite side of the mountain range. But they're not connected story or lore wise, but they're geographically connected.
It's really interesting, to be honest.
Yep. And in this same region are the famous Brown Mountain Lights.
Brown
So
Mountain Lights.
yeah.
Hmm.
So the Brown Mountain Lights go back to long before most most people were in the area. Now, there's a lot of, and I really hate where Wikipedia has gone these days with the,
Going
oh,
on.
well, we're going to explain everything. It's like, this doesn't make sense. As
Yeah,
they talk
because
about the first, okay,
mystery is a scary thing, apparently.
yes. Um, because they reference the first published accounts of the Brown Mountain Lights being in 1912. And I've seen references to there being Cherokee legends and lore about this from long prior. And basically what the Brown Mountain Lights are these periodic lights that come up off of the mountain range, and it's Brown Mountain, and it is near, so it's kind of northeast of Asheville, kind of east northeast, not directly on the French Broad River. I can never remember some of the rivers in North Carolina, so forgive me, folks, for not being a geographical wizard, because, you know, apparently you have to be a non-American to understand all of the geography.
Oh, yes, because
Um,
me, as a non American, understand perfectly what every single part of Washington state looks like. And I
Good.
totally have never met someone who conflates that Washington, D.C. is in Washington state.
No, never, never,
Because I know
never.
geography. Yeah.
Uh,
Some people, I swear to God. Sorry, side tangent, but Jesus Lord, I know there's a lot of jokes about Americans being stupid, and some of them are really justified. But
yeah,
holy crap, Euros and whatever got no legs to stand on, because Jesus, retardation is a human disease.
it
It's
is. It
all
really is.
over. It is more common than the common fucking cold.
And yeah, this is what gets me about, yeah, like the Brown Mountain Lights. I've never seen them. That's on my like to-do list.
Eh,
Um, but the cool thing is, it's like they don't follow a set pattern.
really?
They don't follow, like, okay, yeah, if it's a reflection of a vehicle light, 'cause that's what they always keep trying to say. And it's like, but okay, explain why it existed before vehicles were in wide use.
Why, Bleach, the answer's obvious. It was ancient aliens who brought a car down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And yes, I did the hand thing.
Yeah, it's just it's weird because, you know, like, again, the Brown Mountain Lights are just this, it's non-linear motion, or non-ballistic motion.
Right? So it's not a
And
shooting star then.
correct. And, you know, of course, like, a lot of people are something like, it's UFOs, or something like that, which I don't know. I know it's not UFOs. I'm just very skeptical of UFOs.
I'm open for both UFOs. Again, I think supernatural things can work both in and out of space.
I'm more of a, like, we get glimpses of multiple dimensions in a sense, and since energy is neither created nor destroyed, it just changes form. I think that's part of what's going on. So, anyway,
Go on.
so yeah, it's like, so the Brown Mountain Lights are not easily disprovable, and you know, my opinion, and there's some uh, geographical survey guy in like 1922, and it's like, oh, well, it's got to be trains and cars and brush fires. Okay, you don't have all of these things at all times, especially the brush fires. Um, yeah, just I'm sorry, I don't believe it. Plus, you'd have to have perfect atmospheric conditions at all times, and they just happen randomly. So, um, but the reason why I brought up the Brown Mountain Lights and in connection with the Wampus Cat and the Siren of the French Broad is there's a lot of weird shit going on in that part of North America. Hell, there's a place called Blowing Rock that is in that same neck of the woods, and again, Cherokee legend. And it's like, okay, yeah, they there's a pair of lovers who were denied being in a relationship, so they went and they jumped off of this big mountainous rock.
Oof.
And the wind, because I guess the spirit of the winds or whatever took mercy on them and blew them back. And they survived and blah blah blah. But it's one of those, why are all these things in the same region?
Yeah, you do say something there. I might give the occasional chuckle, but that is mainly because I don't have any real answer at this point. Because
And
it could be literally anything. It could be something we haven't really thought about yet, or hell, it could be time traveling British people in police boxes for all I know.
mm-hmm. And yeah, it's like, yes, it's this the prevailing winds kind of go in one particular direction. But why is there lore about it? That's what always gets me, because there's other places where there's strong prevailing winds, and you don't get these kinds of stories.
Nope. I don't think I have a story about someone being saved from a self-deletion jump by a strong wind.
Hmm.
I haven't really
You
heard
know,
one as of late.
it's interesting. So it's considered like the concept is called a lover's leap, and there's quite a few places like that in the United States, but it's very rare outside of the United States. I mean, they exist, but it's rare.
A lover's leap, so like people who are in love but denied and decide to
Yes.
just take the other way out.
Yep.
Kind of romantic in a disturbing way, but hey.
Yeah, that's that whole unrequited love thing. Yeah, it's just interesting where it's like, all right, yeah, why do these legends persist in a certain areas, not everywhere, just very certain, very specific areas,
Yeah.
and it's always kind of the same kinds of stories where either one's throws themselves off into their fate, or they get blown back and saved by supernatural forces.
The spirit of the
Yeah.
wind took mercy, or some other deity decides to reach out and stop them. There are like stories like this a lot of other places too, but usually not from a jump.
Yeah, it's usually more of like a drowning or something like that.
Yep.
And but see, again, that gets back to the Siren of the French Broad here, because she represents kind of that darker aspect, that very much, no, just you're a lonely man and you're going to have death embrace you.
Yeah, and it is the opposite of love rather than it's lust.
Yes.
Or, yeah, well, that's not much the opposite in the same way
Or
as apathy, but
desperation.
it is.
Yeah.
The lack of love, the lack of physical intimacy is what drives them. Or
Yep.
sometimes just the weakness to resist.
And it's also really interesting that these are heavily differentiated from, like Japan's infamous forest, which we can't say here
Mm.
because it's YouTube. But yeah, it's like that infamous forest, but they don't. Yeah,
The Drake Paul
that's very
Forest?
much yes. But it's like this is actually so different than those. That's what always gets me. It's like these sort the Lover's Leap or the Siren, because it's not self-pity or desperation. It's something more along the lines of just being lured into a situation where you kind of lost control.
Yeah. Instead of just being denied your heart's desire.
Yeah.
I
And
find it is like most of the creatures that are specifically dangerous to men is always like this alluring, effeminate thing that just keeps on, that manages to betray you and reveal something hideous before the end. Like this,
yeah. Yeah.
really, it takes every single time, it takes this dark delight in luring you before it just destroys you, just mind, body, and soul. And then it just kills you.
So there is another Appalachian myth, and one that is widespread in excuse me, like Southwest Virginia.
Right?
So we've gone North Carolina to Tennessee, back to North Carolina, now to Virginia. I mean, we're going to end up in West Virginia before much longer, and then on up into Maryland and Pennsylvania.
Well, I know you do. I know you get tired of the joke. Country roads take me home.
To Western Virginia.
Yes.
Not West Virginia, Western Virginia. Yes,
Yep.
yeah. If you know the geography of that song, you're like, wait a minute, that's not West Virginia. So, there's this legend of the woman in black,
Really?
and it takes place in I think the dates were like somewhere between like 1900 and 1905. And most of them happened in like 1902. And because I thought this was kind of a fascinating thing. So the woman in black would approach men who had either had some like moral transgression, or were cheating on their wife, or just mistreated their woman.
Right.
And I've actually seen reference to newspaper articles about this. I'll see if I can brag one up.
If we find it, you'll see it on the screen.
Indeed. And yeah, because let's see, Bristol, Tazewell, Lynchburg, Richmond, Jackson, Minnesota. That's kind of an oddball one. Roanoke, Christiansburg, and
I wonder which is the dominant religion in that area.
No. So I think it was named after somebody named Christian.
Ah,
um,
Christian.
yeah. So let's see. Yeah, yeah. The men were visited by a woman in black. They couldn't make out her face, and a lot of them had stayed out too long, or were caught in an extramarital affair, and one refers to it as was um, the woman struck the man with a swish of her phantom garments disappeared as if there was retribution for his sin. And there was at least one death associated with her. And that's interesting.
And was she considered some kind of beautiful lady, or just she went there and then exacted vengeance?
They never really described her. They just referred to her as a mysterious woman in black.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. And I'm the wow, this is really wild. Um, there's apparently what is this WBRC, a TV station, WDBJ. It's like yeah, so there's still like newspaper articles and
About the woman in
news
black?
stories about the woman in black.
Huh.
Yeah. So this is WDBJ7. This was from, and I'll actually throw a link in there. They actually show the newspaper articles. And one of them says, let's see, the woman in black, Bristol's sensation now operating in Roanoke. The city of Bristol is just recovering from the effects of a scare produced amongst citizens of the town by what is known as the woman in black. Hardly a day passed for weeks that the press of the town failed to have a long account of the antics and performances of the woman in black. On a night before, her name was on the lip of every strong man, trembled by her name was spoken. Children cried and clung to their mothers. Dreams of let's see. Oh, their mother's dresses. Sorry, it's a little blurred. You'll see why when you look at the link. Terror reigned supreme, and just when the woman in black should be so terrible was never known. She made no attack on anyone, but probably due to the unexpected appearances resulted in self-harm. Well, there you go.
She hurt herself in confusion.
Yeah. But that's fascinating. Yeah, it's over the span of 9 months, copy printed from Bristol, Roanoke, Bluefield, that's West Virginia, Tazewell, and Lynchburg, mentioned the same paranormal phenomenon. And it's always like the same description. We had an apparition of a woman dressed totally in black, long black dress, black coat, black veil covering the lower part of her face, and a black turban-like headdress.
Veil.
The ghostly figure would follow men home late at night, with articles reporting bullets flying through her unarmed and her ability to appear and disappear at will. All of these men are reputable. Makes you think there's a certain realness to this having to do with these men. And it's
Passing
just
through harmlessly is not something you see every day or hear about.
no.
Especially in the country which is famous for having guns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like
Well, that's one way to
hard.
be called out on being a cheating bastard, eh?
Yeah. So, March 1902 article in the Roanoke Times. So it could be researched, apparently.
Well, that should trigger Bezic properly.
Yeah. And it's what blows my mind. It's like there's newspaper articles. There is like this really well documented. It's kind of like Spring Heel Jack in that regard.
That's one I want to cover with you later one day, if possible.
Yeah, yeah.
Because old Jackie Boy is one of my favorite British myths.
I've always had a soft spot for old Spring Heel Jack.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. It's stuff like this that I think is really interesting because it's not just done in isolation. It's not just this
It's not
myth
just
and lore.
It's not just a hallucination of a bunch of crazy people.
Yeah. It really, really goes into this depth of what was really going on. Was this like a women's league getting together and doing this? Or
it could be possible.
Yeah.
Wouldn't make sense with the apparitions, and maybe they fooled some of the men to join, or maybe not fooled, even convinced some of them to like fire blanks, or they tricked their husband's guns into having blanks, taking a real risk. But you know,
Yeah.
you can get some really creative answers.
And that's the thing. I really just I love stories like this because how real is it? Because it's real. It's just what kind of reality are we talking here?
Yes.
And there's like multiple news articles from that period referencing her. So
yeah.
It's hard to say.
It could be so many different things, and that what makes it interesting. Like even with the Mothman, you know.
Yeah. And
good old harbinger of doom.
And that's another thing. It's like, how much have we covered here that there's some element of a truth in it, and we maybe don't understand it the way that maybe we should.
Yeah.
And
being ignorant of the truth isn't exactly anything new.
Yep. Well, it's the human condition.
Much. When we fail to get the answer we wish, we tend to impose something that makes us feel better about being wrong.
Mm-hmm. And
I think the modern expression is coping and seething.
Very much so, yes.
Can't quite express what you're feeling.
Let's see. Something else I just find really interesting about the woman in black. There's nothing that I've ever run across in any other parts of the United States that touch on this. It's a very unique regional thing. And I don't know. I just find it fascinating that it's just such a separate part. And actually, let me read. I found another newspaper article from, I can't identify the paper, but it's also 1902, Lynchburg, Virginia, November 7th. A few months ago in town, southwest of Roanoke to Bristol, inclusive. In some of the language here is really weird. Inclusive, so the whole region. Strange stories were told of a tall. Let's see, a tall, slim figure in black, supposed to be veiled woman, who at late and unseemly hours suddenly emerged from dark corners and chased those men who were delayed by business, the club, or some other reason from reaching their home in good time. All kinds of weird stories were told of how men nearly escaped being clasped by the long, bony arms of the spooky stranger, how shots had been fired at her without effect, and how she always disappeared when her capture seemed certain. For weeks past, nothing has been heard of the woman in black, but a few nights ago, it is said from the neighborhood from 14th and Fillmore, the uncanny creature was seen by a youth who hastily ran to a colored man for help. But when the colored man returned, he and the boy found nothing. Yeah.
Looks like Jim couldn't help Huckleberry Finn this one.
No. And let's see. Here's another newspaper article, and everyone will have to forgive me. I'm having to read this off of a TV program, so it like cuts off some of the text, because I would love to get it's like some of the old Salem haunting stuff from like Amityville and things like that. When you go read that, it's like, whoa, this is cool.
Cool and fucking creepy too.
Oh yeah. The woman in black. It is said that the chief mission of the woman in black is to hurry men home at night, men who were in the habit of visiting the club to a late hour. Some Tazewell citizens, so that's in Southwest Virginia, testify that her ability to move a man home has a strong reality. Her habit is to appear behind the man without warning, slap him in the face, and swish her phantom garments. Fire like the woman in black comes without warning, devours in an hour, perpetuity that costs the owners years of hardship and toil.
Ooh. So if you don't hurry home, some shit's gonna catch fire.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Well, say what you want, but at least it's effective.
Yeah. Yep. Roanoke Times, March 19th, 1902 is another article.
So remember, guys, if you're a two-timing bastard, don't move to any of these places.
Yeah, stay out of Southwest Virginia, apparently.
Yep.
Jeez.
You might get what you actually
I'm not
deserve.
going there.
Oh. Huh. Anything what? Hey, it's alright as long as you're not cheating.
Yeah, well. Or out late, apparently.
Oh, yeah, that's another issue. Imagine, you're a little bit delayed from due to work or some shit, and then you get home and she stands there with a fucking torch. So, 15 minutes late, huh?
Slap, slap, slap. No.
You throw some, set your house on fire, slaps your face, says nothing, leaves.
Typical
If that ain't a fucking woman power move, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, that is so creepily accurate.
Yep.
But yeah, and for all that forgot how we got on this tangent, we were talking about like, female specters that seem to haunt men specifically.
Yep. Either to hurry them up or just fucking kill them.
Yeah.
Hell, even some accounts of the succubus would work that, though I think they originally started off as sort of like a dream demon.
Yes. And you know, seducing men and drawing them into their power, etc., etc., etc.
Yep.
But that really makes me think, could all of these things that we've been discussing Be
There we
connected
go.
in some form or fashion?
I mean, just like how many gods in ancient mythos tend to have similar positions, like the god of the sky was always the one in charge.
Mm-hmm.
The underworld's god tended to be emotionally dead, like take Hades. He tended to be more reserved than psychotically angry. And take Hel, for example, or what, as you would like to call Hela from Norse mythology. Again, she was half live, half dead, and she preferred the company of the dead.
Hmm.
Perfect fit, actually.
Well, yeah. Oh. I I keep finding more newspaper articles. I love this story. It's just so odd.
Yep. And there's something though. It's just like how some people say that a lot of religions are technically just the one, but interpretedly differently by different people.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the supernatural thing too. Like maybe the Hulder, the entity that is Lorelei, and the Indian one that's fuck. What is the name of it? The Indian
The Scala, or whatever it
Tuscala,
is.
Tuscala. It's such a weird name, Tuscala.
Yeah.
Maybe they could be the same creature, or at least the same kind of subspecies.
Could
Because
be.
yeah, because while the Hulder is described as more like a face species, it is, I don't think, in impossible for it to be the same creature, just appearing in different areas.
Hmm.
Well, this one is connected to one spot, and so the one in Germany too. It could be a chance that, again, if putting on the tinfoil hat here, there's a chance.
Yeah.
Though it takes various shapes, various intentions, but in the end, the goal is the same: tempt men, drown them, and potentially devour them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Uh, yeah. It's just, man,
Was there
stuff
any?
like this
Yeah, was there
is
any
just
creature like
so.
that in like Egyptian or Roman mythology or Greek mythology? I guess. Like,
I
would
think
that be the?
in Greek, yes, but I'm not sure about Egyptian. I'm not as familiar as I probably should be.
Me neither. I'm not gonna start bragging about knowing much else than Ra basically created a universe by pulling it.
Hmm.
At least one of the creation stories I remember most is that one. Of course, after the most hardcore creation myth of just a bunch of gods killing a planet-sized giant and then turning his corpse into a planet.
Hmm.
Because why the hell not? That's
Holy
Norse
shit,
mythology.
sir! I've just went down this rabbit hole. So
Don't drink the
apparently there
blue
were
bottle.
no, not any blue will do.
Right on the other
Um.
hand.
So apparently a similar figure to the woman in black in Southwest Virginia showed up in New Jersey, and this is all like 1902. New
Right?
Jersey, Nebraska, San Francisco, and Carbondale, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
That's weird.
That's what's good about myths,
And
dude.
the same modus operandi.
Go around bapping people over the head.
Yeah, men specifically. Yeah.
I said people. What?
That's man. I'm gonna have to write you know, do some more research on that because
Yep.
There might have been one in Indianapolis, where my hometown area. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, interesting stuff like that just fascinates me no end because there's just so many
Uh,
things where it somehow is accidentally connected to itself, and you
yep.
don't necessarily find it until you just stumble upon these things.
Yeah. Again, like how when I first discovered how the snake or the dragon appears in several myths.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's like
Uh,
you always get like the lore with buried treasure in the pitfalls of that sort of thing.
yep.
Um, and then it's like, whoa, wait, this is across multiple cultures, and the cultures that told them aren't necessarily related.
Yeah.
This is strange.
Sometimes the differences might be stark, but the core of it all is very much the same.
Mm-hmm. You're doing a really good job on the Siren of the French Broad here, sir.
Thank you. I'm trying my best.
Yes.
Hopefully, best is good enough in this case.
It's good enough for Norwegian work.
Ha! Wait, you think we work?
Oh, you've got socialized medicine, so.
Yeah, making a lot of assumptions here, dude.
Yes.
I mean, compared to the average Swede and Danes, we do work. I'm not going to try and compare us to the Finns, because I don't have a death wish.
Uh, you, you, but at least you're not Russian, because those are the guys that the Finns always seem to take care of the most efficiently.
Yeah, they do, but my theory is that if you start bad-mouthing Finns, they'll start hearing Russian from you.
Yeah,
I'm
fair
not
enough.
take. I don't want to confirm my theory because if I do, it'll be my ass. Of course, if anyone is willing and stupid enough, I mean, extremely brave enough to try that out for me, you're welcome to try.
I mean, I would, but
But you have a
I
survival instinct.
well, no, I just know with the Finns have their pride, and I respect it quite a bit. Actually, I considered um, collecting some. Actually, well, I have collected some Finnish um, pre-World War II stuff. That's really cool.
Oh yeah.
But no, I kind of look at and it's like, oh, I mean, I guess if we want to go at it, fine, but neither one of us is going to come out on top because I'll just disappear into the mountains and you can disappear into the forests in winter and we're not going to find each other.
Oh, you'll be locked into different fucking types of year. It's like,
Yeah,
damn it, where's that American? Damn it, where's that Finn?
exactly.
Oh, dude, imagine the clashes you have during fall and spring, though. That'll be epic.
Ooh,
And so we would
actually,
create
that'd be an interesting thing to gameplay.
yeah, use one as season to bolster your defenses, and then you see what happens. Basically, it's like the day and night cycle between Ra and Apophis, but
Mm-hmm.
drag that to a whole seasonal thing.
I mean, yeah.
In the turn from winter to spring, the Finn clashes with the American, and vice versa when fall arrives. Have to spend
Well,
all summer, all winter to prepare for the other.
I can see it now that the Finns are, oh, but yeah, winter's not going to be, or summer's not going to be that much of an advantage. And I just say, yes, and wait till it hits nearly 100% humidity and then go outside.
Yeah, that's the kind of defenses you need. The worst with fucking heat is when you need water resistance in order to get through it.
Yeah. And, well, I've joked for years. It's like I should go out, start cutting out chunks of the air and freezing it for next summer, you know?
And the disappointing thing is, like, we've had like a few humid days in Norway,
Mm-hmm.
and that is like heat. You know those bright, beautiful summer days that happen exactly right after a thunderstorm?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they are terrible. Nobody likes them. In Norway, when that happens, whenever we see a thunderstorm, we're like, please don't be a warm day. Please don't be a warm day right after. And then some dumbass keeps wishing for it, and then the gods above take thinking that, yeah,
That
let's
guy. Yeah, we like
yeah,
him.
yeah. I'm halfway convinced most deities are trickster god at this point. Honestly, if you're gonna look at it technically, I think a lot of gods in Norse mythology would be trickster gods.
Could be.
Yeah, I mean, every single one of them does one thing to outsmart their opponent one way or another. Odin did it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dude was a fucking troll in many ways.
Yeah. Maybe the first troll. The progenitor.
Yeah. I'm gonna do a little trolling. Odin, what is that? Oh, you'll find out.
Yeah.
You'll
Shut your
find
mouth.
out. And of course, Thor never really bothered because he thinks Thor is the kind of guy who he sees a problem as a nail, and he really likes his hammer.
Yep. Yeah, he was down for hammer time.
Yep. And also, he's one of the most protective gods when it comes to humanity, which is why I'm constantly pissed off when some dumbass tries to make a cool-looking Norse mythology series, and oh no, Thor randomly kills a human being because reasons. Yeah, dude has anger issues, and he is known to kill people in rage, but he never really does it unless they deserve it.
True.
Yeah, he is then known as a protector of humanity, actually. If you ever feel like if you ever feel like it, we can do one on Norse mythology one day.
Yeah, although you're going to have to draw and then I'll have to listen.
Yes. Well, I'm always drawing, but I can do some chatting, or you can do some research before. Yeah. A little reading. Yeah. Come on, at least you can read.
Yes.
You don't have my excuse. Let's see.
Yep.
It's always interesting. I'm always forced to do like interesting backgrounds when you're around.
You know, I inspire a full scene.
Yes, that you do.
I make a scene.
Oh, definitely. Like, I'd be interested seeing you in a bar fight. How that shit would start.
Start or finish? There's a distinct difference.
Oh, there's always a start before the finish. I'm pretty sure what happened during the finish.
Yeah.
If it doesn't involve someone pulling out a gun, is it really a fight?
I just try never to get myself in those positions.
What?
I know, shocking.
Yeah, right. That being said, I'm probably I too am really, while I am very confrontational, I tend to avoid violence as much as possible.
Indeed.
Yeah. The scariest thing is if you find out you're pretty good at it. Probably won't be able to win any fights, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to weather out one. I can handle a few hits. And the bonus would be...
Do you need to handle more than one or two? Yeah. Just saying.
Hey, you just need to know where to hit.
True.
Or just drag an idiot down, because, hey, 140 kilos, right? And declining, but still enough to have an advantage. If someone's dumb enough to try, be my guest. I mean, the last fight I was in, I essentially just ended by giving the dude a bear hug, and then just fell down on him.
Oh, that's cute.
I know. Let's see. Yeah. Oh yeah. I even considered making it uncomfortable for him, but I think it was bad enough that he couldn't breathe properly.
Ah, well, there you go. And at least you're very generous.
Yeah, I can be nice the times I choose to be. Also, I
Hmm.
think he was starting to like get like tears in his eyes. Apparently, the
Ah,
dumbass had asthma.
why start something you can't finish? That's like diving in after the siren of the French broad and expecting anything other than the sweet embrace of nothingness.
Sweet embrace of nothing. It's right after you see a fucking skull grinning up to you.
I know, isn't it great?
Yeah, it's amazing. And no, I'm not doing the skull chick thing. I need to save that for
No.
hell.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Her name is Hell. Literal fucking hell. Or
Uh,
in other parts of Norway, you could consider Hole.
yes, I don't consider a hole.
Nah, not whole like a hole, but like whole in complete.
Yes, I know, but I had a joke and I just had to go there.
I mean, it's a woman joke, so you know, always involves a hole, doesn't
Yeah, it always
it?
does.
Let's see, and okay, we're doing pretty good. Almost in on 1.5 hour, and I'm starting to near the end here.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, no,
So,
she is looking quite the shapely lass.
yep, I like curves.
Deadly, but alluring.
Yes, I actually managed what I wanted. Hell yeah.
Yes, and keeping it YouTube friendly.
Yes, look at me being able to do things. And now I can no longer hide behind the reason that I can't draw women, apparently. Shit.
Exactly. It was
So I think we might
my
have to cut out the
plan
episode.
all along.
Fuck! And I need the content, damn it!
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I have been tricked. I was talking about trickster gods, and turns out he has won all along. I've been
Were you ever in
fooled.
any doubt?
Not really. I brought it on myself. This is the price I pay for content.
Yeah. It's a price I'm willing to have you pay.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah.
Let's see. Just a light touch of white here and there. Some white and black. I'm really loving doing black and white stuff, dude. Like these sketches have always been kind of my favorite style, not because of just manga, but like you could find so many interesting black and white drawings.
Oh yeah, and you've got the ability to like slip in extra details that you can't necessarily do otherwise.
Exactly. Many people think black and white is inferior to colors, but in many ways, if you do black and white, the brain takes care of the rest, and well, suddenly magic happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one thing I wonder. We talked about like temptresses and women,
Mm-hmm.
water, and all that. Uh,
Yeah.
this is something I've always been interested in, and that is the idea of what would have been if America as a nation existed during the Black Death.
Hmm.
Because in Scandinavia, or particularly Norway, I'm not sure about the other countries, but I think Sweden at least may have something similar. We had this one being known as Pesta, basically the old lady death, the
Okay.
personification of the Black Plague. And she would come with a rake, and she would come with a broom, and she would visit every farm on her path, walk by them, where she either would use the rake and only some would die, or she would use the broom and everyone would die.
Hmm.
Bästa kommer is a very popular image of this crooked old lady carrying a broom and a rake on her back and just heading towards a farm. You don't
Hmm.
know which one she's gonna pick. Only thing you know is that she's gonna get there. And everyone is going to essentially cry into the void when she does. Because she has no mercy. The only mercy you get is when she uses the rake.
Interesting.
Yep.
Hmm.
And there's
I
another image which basically is the source of most of my childhood nightmares. I realized a few years ago when I rewatched, looked, worked up the guts to look at the image again. It's called Pesta I trappen, which is the plague in maybe the Brits have a similar myth to her, but it is a image of her face staring up at you the whole way. Now, I was a
Hmm.
wee kid when I first saw that, and of course, the museum that had that bitch had, of course, to put that mural right at a fucking stair, making it look like she came up that stairwell. Now, me being a little kid and running around like a little kid, being stupid, I ran right into that stair, and I apparently made a shriek so loud that many people wondered if I was actually being attacked by something. Nope, turns out I was just one among many kids who managed to run ahead of the group and find the most scariest fucking picture they had.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Because that translates roughly to Pesta on the stairs, right?
Yes, Pesta on the stairs. I think you should be able to find her on Google. And, yeah,
Yes, yes, I did. And I'm going to include an image in the little chat here.
do that. Oh, that is even more terrifying. Holy shit. Oh, yeah. That makes a bit too much sense.
Uh-huh.
It's about, she has changed out her tools for something more modern.
Yes.
Do you say 42, huh? And I think I'll
Ah,
leave it at that because that's way too close.
I'm very proud of your choices.
Yes, now reap the consequences. Well, yeah, that you see that face there, right?
Uh-huh.
And the hand there, where you put that flag, that hand is put in a way that she's crawling up the stairs because again, old decrepit thing. But
Mm-hmm.
despite being decrepit, she is unstoppable.
Mm.
So yeah, it's terrifying in that kind of way. Like this
Yeah, I get that. I mean,
unstoppable force heading towards you. Looks so weak, yet it will destroy you when given the opportunity.
well, that's the one thing I always find interesting about certain kind of folklores is am I changing it from okay. For some reason it decided to change it into Russian for me. Thank you. There's always that really interesting and like the and sometimes I wonder it's like do we see things as more frightening because we get the subtext, or is it just that frightening and then our minds generate the subtext
Oh yeah.
of why it's
If
so
you
terrifying?
if you look at the picture like an adult person, and with a solid grasp on reality, I mean, in itself the sketch is fantastic. But if you look at the face, it is a very silly face, an
Yeah.
extremely silly face. A grown man will look at that and be like, yeah, right, which is exactly the reaction of my father. So yeah, traumatized kid comes to screaming, and his reaction is to look at it and like, just laughing at me. Thanks, Dad. That shit didn't traumatize me at all.
No, really not.
No. I have no lasting issues at all. But yeah, but it's so much more terrifying when you're a kid and stories are real for you. Like every story you
Yeah.
hear as a kid is real, in one way or another. It happened. You just don't know where, you just don't know when, but it happened, one way or another.
Mhm.
And then you see the pictures, which gives a form to the fear you can't really comprehend. And that's when the nightmares get something to hang on to.
Yeah.
Yep. And that picture essentially became my childhood nightmares because I started seeing this creature, but more elongated and malformed, and would always come from the edge of something, like the edge of a stair, the edge of the door. The hand will be like, when Nosferatu gets out of the casket, how the hand just wraps around?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, that creature and Nosferatu merged into one for me.
Interesting.
Yep, and that's
It's
childhood
so
demon.
this is something where I have spent some time pondering.
Right?
And I think a lot of times the evil that we fear takes its form based off of our thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And because what better way to open someone up to terror than by presenting themselves in such a way that yeah, it's like your terror is going to live. It's
Yeah.
going to maneuver. And sometimes it's like sometimes you see you get in a group and you see one thing and somebody else sees something very different, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing manifesting in ways to really just screw with you.
Or the cases where you both see the same thing for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I find that too to be incredibly scary.
Yeah. Looking good, man.
Thanks. I'm having a lot of fun
And,
with
and
this.
and we haven't had to roll out the quack.
No, turns out the hard reset was necessary. This computer, I swear to Lord, you need to beat it and then beat it in submission, or else it'll beat you into despair.
Yeah.
All right, I think I'm going with this. A bit of a starry sky with a few very bright ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I thought I was going to do a bit more with the background here, but I kind of like how this
No,
black.
it's simple.
Yeah,
You don't need to do a ton.
no, just going to add a little bit extra here and there. Give it a bit just more of a consolation feel. There you go.
Hmm.
So yeah, here we have the Siren of the French Broad.
Yes. Although
Honestly,
sometimes we also called it the French bread river, but you know.
yeah, that's language for you. Though I have a single idea left, just one thing. Let's see, just to see how it fits.
Ooh, interesting.
If I do this, I just love the fading on this thing. Like, yeah, it's highly pixelated, but Jesus Christ, the results. And just a dash of this.
Hmm. Yes, very subtle. I like the subtlety of it.
Yeah. Should I add an effect? No, I don't think actually that
No,
makes.
I think an effect would overplay it.
Yeah, definitely. We're keeping it the good old-fashioned normal. And instead, I'm just doing this.
Hmm.
Let's give it a 92. There's a small spot of red, just a little bit. Sort of like when the eyes reflect a camera lens.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So yeah, this has been my take up on the Siren of the French Bread River.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Yeah. If Bessa can figure out how that translation happens, I'll give you extra points.
I wouldn't.
Hey Bessic, if you can find out how French Broad River becomes French Bread River through like a between Norwegian and English, I'll give you $5 extra on the next pay. Let's see if that works. And with that, I would like to conclude this episode of Simply Sketchy. Thank you very much, Bleach, for joining me once again.
Oh, very happy, and I always like how our conversations kind of meander and get into extra supernatural things.
Yeah, but that is just... The supernatural is a extremely, extremely interesting topic, and the best part is, you can't be quite sure if it's real or not.
Indeed.
Yeah, because a lot of the myths are obvious that they could be, or quote unquote obvious that they're fabricated. But then you have those myths who seem a little bit too fitting in some cases. But there's always an explanation for something, but you never know. Might be real, might be not. And also, I would like to extend my thank you to Robert Renato for letting me use the music you're currently being listening to. He's has a wide array of both fandom, sci-fi, every kind of music you can think about, and he also started on a stint with the more eldritch things. And of course, thank you to Besic for editing all of this and wading through these minutes upon hours of video footage to give you a decently sized chunk of stuff. Again, dude,
Boo that
thank you very
man.
much.
Boo. Boo.
Dude, don't sabotage me. I need this guy. I can't do it as myself. Shut up.
Oh. But I said I was going to be given 5 kroner.
No, but you're not giving 5 kroner. Haven't I given you something already? Damn it. Yes, I pay everyone to join me here because I can't get anyone to come by their free will.
Well, kidnapping didn't work this time, so.
No, apparently the good old-fashioned cheese in front of a rope trick didn't work for the umpteenth time.
And it didn't work for the first time.
Keep saying that. Next time I might use something else, maybe beer or a gun. Ammunition. That'll get you.
Damn
it. Well, and of course, a big thank you to every single viewer here who took time out of a day to just listen or watch this video. Thank you all very much. Once more, thank you, Bleach, for joining me here, and I look forward to the next time.
See you later.
Bye-bye.